Great skills again by him. Oh, marvellous goal by Luton.
Welcome to the Rangers Journal.
Welcome to the Rangers Journal on the 1st of January, and a Happy New Year to anyone who is still up and watching us tonight. As you can see, we are not quite the Walking Wounded, but tonight's podcast is actually coming to you from Sweden and Poland, because everyone in Scotland seems to be too hungover to actually get in front of a camera. Andrew, I've been on with you with a pod before. I've seen you on a couple of the pods. How are you doing? How was your New Year last night? Happy New Year to you. How are you doing?
Yeah, Happy New Year to you as well. Happy New Year to anyone watching. It was good. Just a few drinks with some friends at their apartment. Nothing too major. I was pretty drunk, though, to be fair, as the people in the group chat will know. But yeah, it was a good one. How about yourself? How was your New Year's Eve, Hogmanay?
It was good. It's funny, I've been to Warsaw once, so when you said it was a quiet night, that was not tallying with my experience of Poland, which I love as a place, but they know how to party. Sweden, the people are quite quiet and well behaved most of the time, but in Hogmanay they go absolutely mental. You need a fireworks permit to let off fireworks any day of the year, except from 6 o'clock in the evening till 2 o'clock in the morning in Hogmanay. So it becomes, it's great. It's well worth the trip. Everyone just goes nuts. So I've got the rehydration tablet in a mug here, and a kind of like box set of Prime Suspect to go and rewatch after we've done the pod. So that's how rock and roll I'm feeling tonight. But before I go too much further, I should actually give a shout out to our sponsors, Bluebells Bar in Porta del Carmen in Lanzarote. They're the only Rangers bar in Porta del Carmen, and as well as showing all the games, they're family friendly. You can have a beer or a cocktail indoors. You can go out onto the terrace and overlook the sea, and basically have a kind of time I could do with just now, just like kick back, watch the Rangers game and have a nice time. And if you're in there, tell them the Rangers Journal or how you heard about them, because it's good for us to send people their way. But if you're over there in Porta del Carmen, definitely give them a look. And if the Bluebells Bar want us to do a remote podcast and want to fly us out there to broadcast direct as part of a promotional thing, my passport's ready to go. In terms of questions tonight, we'll see what those foolhardy enough to join us tonight come up with. But we'll maybe kick off with just sort of some general points. Andrew, how are you feeling after the St Mirren game? You know, how it went and how you're feeling with regards to the next game coming up.
Good. After the St Mirren game, I was on the pod before the St Mirren game, and I wasn't feeling great about it. But actually, it was a very good performance against. They're not a great team, St Mirren, but they're a team we have struggled against for the past 4 or 5 times we've played them. I don't think we beat them once. So they're a very physical team too. And obviously, our squad has taken a lot of criticism for lack of physicality, weakness. So it was good to overcome St Mirren. Really good to see Asgard get another goal. Really good to see Manny get another goal. Yeah, overall feeling very good. Obviously, we saw some interesting events in Lanarkshire as well on the same evening, which, I mean, I'm always a bag of nerves before we play them. And this weekend will be no different. But we have picked up a bit of form. They have had the opposite. So I am cautiously optimistic, I would say. Cautiously optimistic. I feel fairly confident that we won't lose, but I would never come out and say that I'm confident we'll win. Cautious optimism.
I'd get what you're saying there, because this Rangers team, it's not Celtic. I don't have an issue with how flawed Celtic are. You can see what to do against them. Just this Rangers team have been taking baby steps.
Yeah.
But a game like this, you know, we didn't turn up against Hearts in either of the matches. So I'm a wee bit sort of I like you, I get apprehensive before every Old Firm game. One thing, like I know you're sort of putting you in the spot. You're a bit of a tactics bod, which means you're going to get asked stuff tonight. One of the things I really like about Danny Rule that we don't see with many Rangers managers, I think the last time I can really recall seeing it on a consistent basis is with Gerrard, is he actually does this weird thing that seems like a hack or a cheat. He comes into the club and he improves players, like almost that's something we don't do. I thought it was very interesting in terms of a couple of the players he's improved. In terms of Chermiti, who's now starting to look a wee bit like a football player, which I didn't see coming. And also in terms of Asgard, who I thought it was really interesting, Rule talking about that shifting him in the wings because he feels like when he takes the ball a certain way, he's too cumbersome in terms of opening up his body. But now he actually just gets and goes. I mean, have you been impressed with Rule in terms of what he's actually done in improving players that we've got in the squad?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, yep.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know if I dropped out there or if it was on your side. You were speaking about improving players. Did you mention any players specifically? I didn't hear everything you said.
Specifically Chermiti and Asgard. I thought it was interesting when he was talking about what he's done with Asgard and where he takes the ball to get him moving more quickly. And also Chermiti has gone from looking like a wardrobe on wheels to a wardrobe on wheels that can actually go into the right position and do stuff. So I was just wondering if you were impressed by that, what you've seen so far in terms of how he's improving players in the squad.
Yeah, definitely. So I think Asgard, I get the impression he's a confidence player. And Rule has obviously boosted his confidence, made him feel good about himself. I think it's that simple with him. With Chermiti, I don't know what it is exactly. Again, before the St Mirren game, I was slating him, saying we're going to get nothing from him. And we don't get goals from him, but we get everything else, don't we? A lot of us have been saying he's a player, he's just not a striker. So I can see Nicky trying to wind me up in the comments. I think Chermiti, we need to just play him as a 10 or as a midfielder even. I think, Rule has got the best out of him. It'll be interesting to see how it develops. I see a shrug in the comments saying he might be our Joe Linton. I think that's a good comparison. It's one a lot of people have made. So, on both fronts, it's been great for both of them.
I'm glad you went for Shug's comment that's broadcastable. The other one's not one I'm sticking in there. And I can see Nicky showing absolute Derek Johnson style confidence in the team against Celtic. One of the questions that's come in there from William Duffy's an interesting one, though. He's going, should we go Sterling, Suter, Fernandes, Magoma on Saturday, or a back five with Tavernier in there? He likes to look at the back four. How do you feel setting up against this Celtic team? Because I think there's a question of how we should play going forward, and there's a question of how to play against this particular Celtic team, which seems to be very much the Russell Martin, there's one way to play style of football. How would you set up for this specific game rather than going forward? What are your thoughts?
I would go with the four that William has mentioned there. That's what I would go with. Suter, I thought, had a really good game, actually, against St Mirren. I thought he was very good. Manny had that clangor towards the start of the game, but I think overall he was very good as well. I feel fairly confident with the two of them. I can understand why some people might want to see the three. We have been weak defensively over the season, but we haven't been recently. I think we've got the best defence in the league over the last 5 games or so, or 10 games even. I'm not that worried about Celtic going forward. Like, I'm more concerned about our ability to score. So I don't feel like we need that extra man in the defence. I think we'd go with that for Sterling, Suter, Fernandes and Magoma. I think that would be a good option. Tavernier can come on 20 minutes, 25 minutes to go, maybe can make a difference. He hasn't been great recently, but he's still got that in him. He's still got a game-winning goal in him. How many times has he shown us that? So I'd leave Tav on the bench and maybe have him as an option to come on, and I would go with 4 at the back, certainly. How about you? What would you go with?
Yeah, I wouldn't actually disagree with that for this game. And it's funny with Tav, he is now a 30-minute player for me. You know, you're going to get, I think Tavernier's quite he's always been like a bone of contention. And I don't think Curry's on today, but I made the mistake one time of saying that I reckon he was close to being a club legend. And I think Curry and I are going to have a debate about that sometime. What you can say about Tav, though, is, I mean, it's not Tavernier's fault he hasn't been replaced. You know, that is a failure of recruitment for, I would say, 2 years now. You could see...
Yeah, well, we've been saying that for 2 years, haven't we? That, like, Tav can't play every week this season. Maybe even 3 seasons have we been saying that. I don't know. But, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a failure of recruitment. We can't blame James Tavernier himself for that. I know many people want to, but it's not his fault, is it? It's not his fault that we tried to replace him with Aarons or Aarons, whatever, who I think actually recently has been okay, but he's not a starting fullback for Rangers. That's not James Tavernier's fault.
No, I would say Aarons has been the big disappointment. And again, comes back to that point of, like, Rule is getting marginal improvement out of these players, because, like, Aarons looked like he should not be in the first team. But
I wanted him sent straight back to, is it Bournemouth he came from? I wanted him sent straight back in the summer while it was still possible. But yeah, as you're saying, I think he has got something out of Aarons as well. I can see Xander in the comments. Yeah, you've just highlighted it. This is something we could well see. There's been a couple of games where Rule has played this sort of lopsided kind of formation with Magoma pushing much further up as almost a winger and a kind of 3 forming on the other side. That would work well with Sterling, especially, I think, because he's kind of, it might sound odd, but something of a hybrid between a centre-back and a right-back. So I think that would work quite well, what Xander's brought up. It's not unlikely that we will see that.
It's interesting. I think it's very indicative of the season we're having, that we're getting a lot of diverse opinions on how we should play on Saturday. So we've got, it's got to be all-out attack. We've got Ronald Patton's basically saying we haven't scored inside the first 5 minutes in a long time. I mean, I could see this being a very odd game, because, like, you've got two teams that are I think, fragile. We're in a better run than Celtic. And there's all sorts of rumours swirling around about what might be happening there at the weekend. But one thing I will say about Danny Rule is he does seem to be doing, like, basic managerial things, like coaching the players, looking at the opposition and saying, how do we set up? And I'd be very disappointed if we don't cause them problems at the weekend, because everyone knows how to play this Celtic side. You know, Motherwell, people were saying Motherwell going to get a win because they'd seen how Motherwell played against us, so you could see them causing problems. In terms of how I would actually be quite happy to see us keep it nice and quiet for the first 20 minutes, let the crowd turn on them a little bit. Yeah. But the Wilfred Nancy project, I think, is hanging by a thread. I think it's entirely possible that if he loses at the weekend, it may turn out that all these rumours of Martin and O'Neill pulling out of media projects may mean that he's actually on his way back to Celtic Park, which, to be honest, wouldn't concern me as much as you might think, because I think by the end of his little stint there, they were running in fumes and getting, I'd say, lucky, but, you know, like a 25-yarder in injury time is not the kind of XG you can rely on a weekly basis. Have you any thoughts on how you see the game going, given that it's at their midden, and given the respective psychological setups as well as the actual tactical setups in the team? Have you got an idea? Obviously not something we're going to clip and post and slag you about endlessly if it turns out to be wrong, but have you an idea how you're visualising the game unfolding on Saturday?
Not really, because it's Old Firm, isn't it? Like, you can never predict these games. They rarely turn out as you expect. I mean, what you say about the first 20 minutes, I think, is an extremely valid point. If it stays 0-0, we're having a bit more of the ball than them. They're not having any chances. They will turn on them. The Sharks will be out. The abuse will be aimed at Nancy and the players. and it won't be a nice environment for their players. In terms of how the whole game pans out, though, it's just so hard to predict because we don't know what Rangers will show up. We don't know what Celtic will show up. We don't know what referee will show up. And we know who will show up as a referee, but we don't know how the game will be refereed. That's not me making any sort of conspiracy claims or anything like that. But as we know, it's always a big factor in these games. It's impossible to predict for me. I really don't know. Something I see, Connect 4 Frenchman is one of the funniest usernames I've seen for a while. That's good. But back to the topic. Yeah, I don't know. It's impossible to predict an Old Firm for me at the best of times. But with the inconsistency in both teams this season. You mentioned before, actually, that we struggled against Hearts, but that doesn't give me any fear because, frankly, Hearts are a better team than Celtic. They are. They're a better team than Rangers as well, to be honest. I mean, hopefully in this window, we will change that. But Hearts are a better team than either Rangers or Celtic as things stand. So the fact that they looked better against us, I mean, they looked much better against Celtic too. So, yeah, we will see. That's all we will see.
No, to be honest, I can't think of an Old Firm game that has been more difficult to call, just in terms of, I mean, you've got three teams who could win the league. You've got a Hearts team who...
Motherwell aren't that far behind either.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, you've got a Hearts team that I think have done exceptionally well, but let's be honest, in a normal season, they're not top of the league. They're maybe sitting second just now.
No, they're top because of how bad us and the other mob are. I mean, all credit to Hearts. I'm not taking anything away from them, but as you say, they're top because of how bad we are and how bad Celtic are.
And exactly that. You've got Rangers, who we started the season with Russell Martin's philosophy football, and we've gone through the charade of trying to get two managers in, going for our third choice, and then weirdly him gradually settling things down and just gradually nudging up on the rail. So like, I don't think any of us are kidded on that this is a title winning side, but I think what we've seen is that Celtic and Hearts aren't far enough ahead that a decent January transfer window can't actually be the decisive factor. And that'll be fascinating because Celtic are actually weirdly, somehow they've managed to end up in the worse position than us. I thought when Russell Martin was binned that was the season binned. Celtic are now in a position, they're going into January. Who are they talking to about signings? Are they talking to Wilfred Nancy? Are they talking to Martin O'Neill? Is Tisdale running things? That's going to be fascinating to see. But yeah, it does make it one of the most
unpredictable. Brendan, are they going to back Nancy? I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about their club. I don't follow the ins and outs at Celtic like they follow the ins and outs at Rangers. But as I said, they didn't back Brendan. Are they going to back this guy? I mean, how many games has he lost? 6 or something?
It's 5 out of 7.
5 out of 7. There you go. Yeah. Like, including a cup final, right? So, are they going to back him? I mean, if you're putting yourself in their shoes, surely they have to back him. Like, they can't not back him, but will they? I don't know. But yeah, for us and for them, January is a key window. Even for Hearts as well, it's a key window to solidify ahead of the business end of the season, which is only a month away, I guess.
I do hope so, and actually, I really hope they stick with Nancy, and just for the avoidance of doubt, because I know sometimes we get people from the other side of town dropping by. I did, to show my age here, O-level, higher, and 6-year studies French, and it's pronounced Nancy.
Yes, I did French at uni. It's pronounced Nancy.
The town's called Nancy.
Exactly.
All these interviews before were called Nancy. I think if you as a club are so bent on trying to change the French language and the media pronunciation of a name because it has unfortunate connotations, you might want to have a look at yourself before you worry about your French. Anyway, that's just for any Celtic fans who've dropped in. We always like to keep you warmed up. On the recruitment side of things, in January, Danny Rose said that we were already talking to people. We don't know who that is, but the whispers at the moment, for me, have been a wee bit underwhelming. When I hear about Josh Windass, that makes me very unhappy. Alfredo Morelos had kind of gone off a cliff about a year before he left us, maybe 18 months. I mean, what are you thinking about these rumours? And have you any thoughts on who you might like to see coming in through the squad to try and to make the difference in the running?
So with Windass, I really don't think that's happening, to be honest. There's a lot of noise. Today, he was not in the Wrexham squad, but it did come out that he's got a calf injury. So with that in mind, I do think Windass would make a positive impact on the squad as a short-term loan till the end of the season. But if he's out till the end of January, what's the point? I don't think Windass is... He would improve the squad, but I don't think we should go for it. Morelos, I mean, I've got Morelos' stats here. He scored 16 goals this season in the Croatian Colombian League, 2 goals in the Libertadores. He's doing pretty well over there in Colombia, in his homeland, but they're wanting 5 million Santos for him, right? We can get better for 5 million. I don't know if Morelos' head is fully in the game anymore. As you said, his last season at Rangers was very bad. I think people were a bit over the top with him. People with short memories. Alfredo Morelos did a lot of good for our football club. People shouldn't forget that. I think people have sort of remembered that again now. But I don't think we should be looking back at these players. And I see the comment highlighted here, Penrice. There's been noise around Penrice. That's someone I would like to see brought in. I'm not sure how realistic it is. I do think he's been playing for AEK. I don't follow Greek football intensely, but I do believe he's been playing. But if he were to be available, I would absolutely take Penrice. Gogic, I don't know. I don't know about Gogic. I understand why some people do want him, but actually our defence has improved a lot under Rule. I don't think it's the weakest area that we need to be focusing on. Aribo, I love Joe Aribo. I thought he was brilliant for Rangers, but again, for the wages that he would be on, is this really a good option to go with Joe Aribo? I'm not sure. But Penrice, I was going to bring him up actually. He's someone that I would love to see come in for sure. We're lacking a left back. We've only got Magoma, who I am a big fan of. I really like Magoma. I would like to try and make it permanent, but he's our only player in that position. So we need a left back regardless. So Penrice, yeah, I'd be all over that. I'd like to make it permanent rather than just a loan, but I don't know how realistic that is.
I would tend to be I mean, Josh Windass, I hope it's just one of the posters was saying, I hope it's just a lazy link, because
I think so as well.
Everything I've heard about Josh Windass, and I've heard a lot, both on the pod and in off-pod chats, we're supposed to keep the top clean. You know how at a bell, there's the top of the bell, and then there's the end of the bell. Everything I hear about Josh Windass is he's very much the end of the bell, a great big end of the bell. And I don't think you'd want, just in terms of I saw him in the Open Goal podcast, and he basically threw a young player under the bus, named him and talked about his professionalism and everything. That doesn't seem like the kind of guy you want in a young developing squad. He doesn't seem, he's not a Scott Arfield in terms of good attitude. Morelos, I think it's levels. I don't know what the Colombian league's like, but he looks...
I don't think it's any worse than the Scottish league, to be honest. But it's just is he going to come over to cold Scottish weather, have the motivation to play that he does with his family in Colombia and nice, beautiful South American weather? I don't think the level's much worse, but the motivation's probably not there to, when you're going up to Aberdeen, it's -1 outside, sideways rain. I don't think you can be bothered with that, to be honest. So
I mean, also he was a player who looked like he'd he'd done what he felt he wanted to do at Rangers. I felt like his edge had gone. I think his recent run-ins off the football pitch has maybe sort of given him a bit of an edge back. Just in the interest of kind of just to welcome David Glendinning, who's a new member. So welcome aboard, David. And now to just throw my old hand grenade into the comments there to see if anybody fancies Greg Taylor as an experienced SPFL player as a signing in the... Not for me, but, somebody thinks he's a decent idea. I would like to think...
he's terrible, but no.
No, I just... Sometimes it's nice to throw it in and say, Greg Taylor was a Rangers fan. Yeah, apparently so was Callum McGregor and Scott Brown. Comes a point where, like, yeah, maybe they were, but...
Neil McCann is a Celtic fan. Like, it doesn't really matter, ultimately.
Yeah, exactly that. In terms of the areas that you'd be targeting, it seems to be a general consensus that we need a striker in. Right. That seems like a tough ask to get a decent striker in this window. Flip side is the World Cup's coming up, so that you might have availability on players who wouldn't otherwise turn up. My big worry with that is the sort of Aaron Ramsey thing, where they turn up to get their fitness, but then at the sharp end of the season, they don't want to get injured, and they're maybe not what you need. I would be looking at to be honest, I'd be looking at the spine of that team. I don't think we have a real midfield as such. The way Diamondi's been this season, we're short there. Not just Diamondi, by the way. Mm-hmm. Raskin looks like a guy who's doing just enough to stay in the team and get to the World Cup with Belgium. So, like, up front, we could do with reinforcements. Midfield, I think we could definitely do with reinforcements. It's wild to say that defence is the best in the league, because, we have seen some of the stuff they've produced, and it was almost like one of those shock stats when people started talking about that. But to be honest, I think you're right. I think backup for Magoma, or even like a replacement for Magoma, because as a 19-year-old kid, he's done so well, I think, knowing that he's playing every week. But you need to give him a rest now and then. I wouldn't mind seeing a central defender as well. So we've got
every position except goalkeeper needs work. I still think Raskin is our best player. Controversial.
I think he might be our best player. I just don't think he's interested in showing it this season. He just looks like he's thinking to his next move. And in terms of where he goes after Rangers, that's probably more where he's at. Although it was quite interesting, that whole strange situation where his contract was thought to be running out in about a year, and it turns out that was... I'd love to know the backstory in that, because they certainly let it seem to be one thing for a long time and then changed at the last minute. So, interestingly, in terms of ins, we've kind of agreed that everyone except goalkeeper. And to be honest, if there was a slightly more reliable goalkeeper, Jack Butland's done great the last few games, but he's still got a rick in him, and he's not the best with the ball at his feet. So I think next season we could do with maybe an upgrade there. What are your thoughts on, in terms of possible outgoings, Finlay Curtis and Lyle Cameron? For me, I know Finlay Curtis gets a lot of love. I know he scores goals, but I've got to be honest, I haven't seen what else he does beyond that. And we've now had three managers have a look at him, and none of them have made him a first team regular. Finlay Curtis does, Lyle Cameron does sort of surprise me, because I thought when he's come into the side, he's looked decent. He's looked like someone who can do the bustling about of a Baron. But he's got he's got a pass in him. He's got a goal in him.
He's a bit more of an attacking midfielder than Barron.
Yeah. And I'm surprised. What are your thoughts on those two possible outgoings?
Yeah, I wrote a piece for the website on these two going out on loan, actually. I think it's a good move for both of them. Curtis, I don't want to be too critical of him, because he's a young player from the academy, and I do think there's potential there. And he was very important in some of these early qualifiers for Europe. But I think as Rangers fans, and I think other clubs are probably the same, people massively overrate our academy players. I mean, for years, there's Leon King. People were acting like he was Maldini or something. He's rubbish. Alec Cloudy was the same. People were acting like he was Modric or something. He's not. He's not getting a game for Wycombe Wanderers. So Finlay Curtis, I think there's been a little bit the same with that. But I do think there's a player in there. He's just not ready for the Rangers first team. So I would like to see him go out on loan. I would like to see him go to the Championship, the Scottish Championship, to a team that's fighting for promotion, a team that's winning games and fighting for promotion. I would rather see him do that than go to, say, a Killie playing on the plastic pitch in a team that's not really fighting for anything. I want to see him playing in a winning team that gives him, not that he needs his mentality improved or something, but a team that's playing with a compatible mentality to what we have at Rangers, looking to win, not just games, but trophies, silverware, promotion, whatever. So I'd like to see him go to the Championship, say St Johnstone, if they were to be interested, or down to England, League Two, or even the National League, as long as it's a team that's fighting for promotion, that's at the top end of the table, winning games, playing good football. I would like to see him go to somewhere like that. Cameron is a bit different. I feel bad for Lyle Cameron. I didn't expect him to be a key player for Rangers. I did expect him to play a part, though, and he hasn't done, really. Now, that some of that comes down to injuries. He's had on and off injuries the whole time he's been at Rangers, sadly. But I don't know. I don't know what exactly is going on behind the scenes with Lyle Cameron. I do think a loan move is good, though, to get him into the swing of playing regular minutes again. Maybe rediscover some confidence if that's a bit of an issue for him. I don't know if it is. Certainly rediscover form. I think staying in Scotland is a good idea. I heard there was noise around Motherwell, Dundee and Kilmarnock. I mean, I don't know how credible that is, but I heard noise around those teams. Motherwell would be a good move. I mean, we've just seen Motherwell play against us and play against the other mob. They're a good team, and I would like to see him playing in a good team. Again, they're not really title contenders, but they are winning games and they are a top half club at the moment. I think that would be a good move for him. I think Dundee would be fine for him too, because obviously that's the club he grew up in, came from the academy. He'd be back in his comfort zone, which might be a good thing for him at this time. I wouldn't want to see him go to Kilmarnock, though. I've got nothing against Kilmarnock as a club, by the way. I've been a bit critical of them in my description, in my comments on loans, but I don't want to see him playing on the plastic pitch when he has had injury issues this season. That's just no-brainer for me. Stay away from Kilmarnock. So yeah, back to Dundee, fine. But if you can get a move to Motherwell till the end of the season, yeah, that's a good move for me.
I mean, the weird thing is you're actually looking at a situation where we have to question like Cameron going to Motherwell, because they are actually, they're up in the top four. And they're playing.
Maybe we don't want to strengthen them.
Yeah, that's it. And also, I mean, it's a weird one. It would be quite embarrassing if he goes there and does a good job when he's struggling to get into our first team. I do think it's interesting. I think you touch on a bit of a bugbear for, I think, a lot of people, which is the youth team system, the development system at Rangers has been rank rotten for decades. Yeah. I mean, when you think, I know Doug's got Doug from the pod, he's got a take on it, that there's an element of outreach and community stuff there. I'm a wee bit sceptical in that. I think it's there to produce players for the first team squad, and it simply hasn't for decades. And I think I've got a bit of sympathy with the club. I think it's got more difficult with the advent of all the money in the English Premier League, because
it's easy for them to poach players from Scotland.
That's it. So what we're getting, we're not. It used to be we would get among the best players from Scotland, but now your Billy Gilmores are off on £1 million contract down to Chelsea to set their family up, which is fine. But it does mean we get slightly less talented or more flawed players. The one, it's funny when you were talking about players who hadn't really kind of fulfilled their potential. I must admit, I was quite excited when Alex Lowry showed up, because some of the goals he was scoring, some of the passes that he was making really were like, it's quite spectacular. And you think, well, you can't teach that. I think he was kind of unlucky in terms of, I think in the space of a couple of months, he had like a big family bereavement, and also had that horror tackle from, was it Alex Love?
Oh, yeah, no, of course, yeah.
So it's one of those things you kind of see in football. Luck is a big part of it. That you get your break at the right time, you get a really bad injury at the wrong time. But in general, our youth system, if I was putting a kid into a team, it would be Motherwell, because they've got a track record of Lennon Miller and people like that getting into the first team, getting developed, and at the moment playing very good football.
Any club in Scotland other than us and them, to be honest, like Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen, like all of these clubs have more players that come through than we do. I mean, this is a whole issue that could have a whole podcast on its own, right? But something for me, over here in Poland and in Germany, in Spain, the B teams are in the pyramid, and players are getting adult football at a reasonably high level when they're 19, 20, 21 within the club environment. They don't need to go out on loan to be getting that experience. They're getting it while still under the club environment. I mean, the problem in Scotland is I think people have to, I don't know what the right adjective is, but like people don't have an attitude that they will support this in the lower leagues. I think they see it as insulting or something like that to their league or their clubs, their stature. But I think it's essential, right? Because this is the problem, I think. It's this gap between the under-19s, or I think it's under-18s now, and the first team is far too big. And the solution we had before with the B teams in the Lowland League, I would say, isn't quite good enough. A good friend of mine plays in the Lowland League. I'm not disparaging the Lowland League, but I think it's not quite good enough. I don't think Hearts and Celtic are benefiting from it that much either. I would like to see B teams in League One, Championship, competing at that kind of level. I think that would make a massive difference, not just for Rangers, but for Scottish football as a whole. That's an interesting point. 6 million a year. I'm not sure I agree with that, but it's an interesting idea. Like you mentioned, Doug said something like it's about community outreach.
That's an element of it. He didn't say it was the whole thing.
I mean, I think that's true. I don't think it should be seen as the main priority, but I do think it's important. Like, I do think, I mean, I'm not from Glasgow, but I do think it's important that Rangers represents the people of Glasgow to some extent, and Scotland as a whole to a lesser extent. So I do think that's a factor, not just in terms of players from the first team being like local West of Scotland boys or something like that, but I think the football club should be a part of the community. That's what it's supposed to represent. So I do support that. I do agree with that, rather. But I think you're ultimately right. The main priority needs to be producing players for the first team. And yeah, it's not doing that. It hasn't done that as long as I remember supporting Rangers, 20 odd years.
Yeah.
Russ McCausland is the last example who, like you mentioned about luck and taking chances. That's exactly what he did. I don't think he is quite good enough to play for Rangers, but he made the most of his opportunity, and he's gone. I don't know how he's getting on in Cyprus, but he got a decent move for himself. Sure, it's a good life out in Cyprus. You need to grab these opportunities when you get them. Sadly, there doesn't seem to be so many opportunities for our young players.
Well, I mean, I think it comes back to you look at Barry Ferguson's the big standout, and then you have a Nathan Patterson, but that's
Nathan Patterson, yeah. But I think I was 4 or something when Ferguson came through, so I don't really remember it. But yeah, you're right. We're going back to that.
But I mean, even Going back to Ferguson, I may be misremembering. I'm sure someone with a better memory in the comments will let me know. But I'm pretty sure that Ferguson was close to leaving Rangers because in Walter Smith's last season, he just wasn't figuring. And it was Advocat getting the word that he wanted to make him an integral part of the team and squad that made him hang around. So we could have lost Ferguson there as well. Nathan Patterson, to me, is an indicator of what kind of is going wrong, because there is a school of thought, I think it's one of the Nevilles talks about this, where he says your youth system, your development system should be able to produce at least a backup right or left back, because with the best will in the world, like what you're looking for is an athlete who can get up and down the lines and can go outside or inside. So it's not like you're looking for Luka Modric or some like freakishly good player. You're looking for someone with physical attributes that can be coached well. Just
especially in Scotland.
Yeah, and again, you wonder if that's when it comes back to the fact that the scouting down south is such that if they see someone who's like 15 and 6'1" and can do 100 meters in 11 seconds, that they're having them before we get them. So there is that. I mean, it is a question. Someone's saying that Patterson's injuries are a problem, and that is a shame. But makes you wonder if we did sell him at the right time. Sadly,
I think we probably did, to be honest. I mean, we got a good fee for him. Like. The Patterson situation is not an example of the problem we're talking about, because we got a good fee for him. It's players getting plucked when they're like 14, 15, 16 away from Scotland, and we're getting like 200k development fee or something like that. This is the problem. And Shug's completely right. I mean, I think he's maybe a little harsh on Kirk. Don't think he was dreadful, but he's like you're describing, this backup right back doesn't need to be Roberto Carlos. He just needs to be a solid athlete that's going to give us 6, 7 out of 10. Hope you got the reference. And where Kirk Broadfoot's concerned, maybe he's making a reference to Kirk Broadfoot as a dreadful human being after that nonsense at Kilmarnock, where he got us reduced. Was it Jackie got sent off? He kept like getting in a guy's face, and then as soon as there was any response, threw himself over. So we have a long memory at Rangers. It's maybe that. Also, it's difficult. It's difficult not to have a chuckle at someone who ends up on the injury list because of a microwave boiled egg, which still features in stories around the world. I'm aware time-wise that we don't want to overrun tonight. There's a couple of things I was just wanting to briefly touch on. One of them was caused a wee bit of a stir. I'm interested to see what the commenters think and what your own take. Derek Johnson at half-time. He got a lot of people's man of the match for his speech. He finished with the no surrender. He did not shy away from going in two-footed on the current squad in the first half performance. Ill-judged or bang on the money? What were your thoughts? I can see both sides of that. I mean, 3 months ago, I would have said 100% bang on the money. I mean, and I think what he was saying is true, but on some level, you do expect a little more professionalism from the halftime draw. But I mean, he's got every right to say what he thinks on Rangers. Who am I to tell him that he's not in a position to make his thoughts known? Who am I to tell him? Nothing he said was wrong either. I don't know if it's the right time or place for it, but nothing he said was wrong. What about you?
I quite liked it, to be honest. I don't think he said anything outrageous. And, these players are getting shouted and screamed at by 50,000 people on a good day. So I'm sure one former player at the halftime draw isn't going to be the thing that makes them some crumple, if they're not able to take it. But it's like David Glendinning is saying there, basically, I don't think DJ was disrespectful. I don't think he was over the top in terms of his language. I think he said, at Rangers, you should come in and you should be the hardest working team. You should be the hardest tackling, and then your ability should take you through. And sadly, and I'm not actually holding this against a lot of the current squad. I think some of the current squad will not do. A lot of them are very limited, but a lot of it goes back to Thelwell's recruitment in the summer.
Exactly.
There isn't the support group, there isn't the core leadership group to help these young players. Like I say, I doubt they're in there going, "Oh no, you'll never guess what DJ's just said." I'm sure.
Oh yeah. And if they are, then they shouldn't be in professional football, let alone at Rangers.
Yeah. So frankly, I was quite happy for it, and also, it shows he cares. It's not a surprise to anyone. Someone that scores a cup final at 16 and ends up in our one Cup Winners' Cup victory. This is a guy who's earned the right, I think, to speak his mind, and I don't think, for me, what I've heard is the owners weren't overly thrilled with it. Well, I think if they're upset about that, they might want to look about what some of our opponents say.
Well, yeah, but I think it's cultural part of that. You would never see that in America, would you? In the MLS, forget MLS, but in the NBA, NFL, it's a different culture, right? And the owners have to adapt. We don't have to adapt to them; they have to adapt to us. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Yanks were a little upset and shocked, frankly, with that.
Well, that's it. You're not in Kansas anymore, Andrew Kavanagh. So you kind of have to accept that's part of the culture. I thought it was. Yeah, I was quite happy to see him speaking from the heart. And to be honest, I don't see it adversely affecting the side. One thing, actually, just to circle way back to something you mentioned earlier, I noticed that our good friend Kevin Clancy's on VAR on Saturday. So I think we can. If there are any contentious decisions, it'll be interesting to see what bingo marker they're drawing the VAR lines with, or what new weird interpretation of the rules we get trotted out. I really hope it doesn't come to that and we blow them away. But I must admit, when I saw that, he and Frank Connor are the two names that on VAR would give me the fear. So I'm just mentioning it. I'm not saying it'll be the decisive factor, but it does have the sort of whiff of pulling out all the stops to try and give Celtic any edge they can at the weekend. One on the sort of the St Mirren game. It's a wee bit of a tangent, but what did you think about obviously the minute silence at the start of the game was almost impeccably observed. It was actually, to be fair, it was well observed until some Munter decided that they were going to try and make a name for themselves. The St Mirren fans, by all accounts, seem to have got hold of him and handed him over. I found that quite heartening, to be honest, because I don't know what your thoughts were.
Well, yeah, I mean, my respect for St Mirren has gone up quite a lot after that. I've seen certain other clubs have done similar things against Rangers at Ibrox. Hibs come to mind. Silence from the rest of their fans. I can't stand Hibs. I'll make that clear. I'm from Edinburgh. I despise them. But no, St Mirren.
You could be from Edinburgh to feel like that. I think.
No, I know, but it's a bit stronger for me. But fair play to them. I saw videos of it. Everyone around them was disgusted, and rightly so. I mean, ultimately, St Mirren, Paisley is, frankly, basically a suburb of Glasgow. I'm sure there were St Mirren fans who were impacted by the events that day too. Excellent from the St Mirren fans. I was very impressed. A lot of respect for them now.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think it's something that we could do with a bit more of in Scottish football. And I know I sound like old man shouting at clouds, but decency, just basic human decency. If you can't show respect for a minute's silence for a tragedy like that, then you deserve to be held to account for it. Moving on to probably the final question of the night, then, which is your prediction for Saturday.
My prediction.
Could be a score, could just be a general sentiment or philosophy, but a score would be better.
I think I was very critical of Chermiti before the St Mirren game. I'm going to back him here. Chermiti's going to be man of the match. It's going to be a All my pals are Jambos, actually, so I can see that. I think Shermiti is going to have an unreal game. I think he's going to be vital for us. I think Manny might pop up again. I think that might happen. Our set pieces have been incredible, actually. Well, maybe incredible is a little bit over the top, but our set pieces have been very, very good since, is it Fry? Can't remember his name. I think it's Fry. So we could see Manny pop up with another one. I think those will be my two predictions. I don't want to say a score or anything like that. Okay, I'll say, let's say 2-0. Let's say 2-0 Rangers. And I think maybe Manny Fernandez, first goal scorer from a corner or a free kick, something like that. And then the inflatable sharks will be out, and we'll be laughing.
Well, you heard it here. If you get 2-0 with Manny Fernandez for first goal, that'll earn you a few quid. I'll go 3-1. I think we might get something out of Asgard. Shermiti, Fernandez is looking like a better bet. Be nice if Miovski or Sterling were fit for that game, but I think
Sterling. I think he was just rested with this game in mind, so he should be there. I'll be disappointed if he's not. How many times has Tavernier cost us? I'm not a Tav hater by any means, but how many times has he cost us in these Old Firm games? I want to see Dujon in there. I think Dujon's brilliant. I'm a really big fan of Dujon. He just can't stay fit, can he?
Well, it's nice. That's a nice conciliatory note to end the podcast, because like you're pro Sterling, Nikki's pro Sterling. She was accusing you of getting splinters earlier on. So with my
what was he sitting on the fence over?
Going way back, it was start of the pod. Maybe Nikki can chip in with it, but she was definitely accusing you of having splinters. I thought you were giving a balanced view personally, but you know what it's like. If you try and
Nikki just wants to wind me up.
I think there might be a big bit of that, but you both agree Sterling, and I would second that. Sterling in would give us a much better chance because he's looked good. He's chipped in with an assist, he's chipping in with goal line clearances, he's got the physicality for a tumble game like this, as long as he doesn't get injured. So I'll go 3-1, but I'd take anything because that puts us level with them, and I think the following week Martin O'Neill's probably back, and then the soap opera continues. But before winding up, I'll just give another shout out to our sponsors, Bluebell Bars in Puerto del Carmen in Lanzarote. Once again, the only Rangers bar there, and just sounds like you'd have a great time between sitting indoors in the shade or out in the terrace. Also, a quick plug to the Rangers Journal merch line, which has got some lovely stuff in there, some really nice mugs, quite a classy hoodie, and a very funny Are You Raging t-shirt that's always making me smile. So if you fancy a bit of that, the link at the Etsy shop's down the bottom there. It really just comes to me to sort of thank Andrew for making this the overseas RSC pod tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I guess we were saying before we came on, this might be the first journal pod where both podcasters are not in the UK, or neither podcasters are in the UK, I should say. So maybe we can do it again. Shocking to think that I'm sure the hangovers aren't any worse in Sweden and Poland than they are anywhere else. We've had an extra hour, though, I guess we could say.
Clutching at straws. But Happy New Year again to everyone that's supported the pod through the year. We really appreciate it. We look forward to taking you through the journey of the rest of this season and beyond. And remember that every night is a Rangers Journal night.
Every night is the Rangers Journal night.